Yes, sir.
What are you doing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
This is the thing
Yes,
which you
sir.
have to
Yes,
look
sir.
for. Okay. So, and then this portion will be first chapter. Portion will be chapter first. Okay. So, today's thing, which I want to just, today's thing is not, today's thing is a kind of recap, because those who are, today is 8 and 11th is our this thing. So just I tell you what we have done in first class, if you remember all. Okay, so we started with the thing that where we first of all encountered, or first of all, let us say not encounter, first of all coined the term research methodology. Just a brief recap what we have done in the first unit. Those I think for mostly these computational people were not there. So research methodology. So in chapter first, what was the thing? Chapter number first was like a introduction kind of thing. We introduce the subject, and we introduce the subject called as the research methodology. Research methodology. Research methodology. And in this thing, what we have done is that we briefly look for the meaning of research. I mean, uh, research, what does that mean? Research. Research means search for a knowledge. What we told, what was the philosophy which we are going for it? Whenever you will be doing the research means search for the knowledge. The knowledge. That was the thing which we find. And so uh, we also defined that research is a scientific and systematic search for pertinent information on a specific topic. I mean, this is like a kind of a if you really look into this thing, this is like a it's like a philosophy of the subject. It's not really quantitative definition per se. Okay, so it's like a philosophy of the subject. So if you ask me what is the research, research is nothing but a search for the knowledge, but this is a philosophy. The philosophy of this subject. But if you look at the really a quantified definition, then we can say that research is a kind of scientific and systematic search for pertinent information on a specific topic. So a it's kind of an art. Okay, what is the art? Art of collecting the or performing the scientific investigation. And then we talked about so many things, like for example, what is the dictionary meaning of research? So if you look at this various kinds of dictionaries, dictionary is nothing but they are the encyclopedia of the word, which gives various types of terminology. And you may be in your casual search, you may be using Google Dictionary. That is also nowadays very relevant and giving you most appropriate terminologies for the words. And then if you look at the dictionary definition of the research, you will find that research is nothing but it's a careful investigation or inquiry specifically through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. That's the thing which, so it is like a searching the facts for any branch of knowledge. So that branch of knowledge may be physics. If someone want to enhance its knowledge in physical reality, or if someone want to enhance its knowledge for chemical in chemical domain, computational domain, mathematical domain, right? So mechanical engineering domain. So and then it's for which the definition is like this. It's a careful investigation or making inquiry. So So whenever we talk about this research, there are prominent keywords which are coming up. There are prominent keywords which are popping up. For example, what are the keywords which we look for? We look for the word about the systematic search. So search is the first kind of thing which we have coined, which we coin. Then we coin another very beautiful word, inquiry. Inquiry. Okay. Knowledge and things like that. So in our discussion, if you remember, we said that research is an academic activity. It should have an academic bent. So research is nothing but it's a academic activity, and in this academic activity, we have to. So whenever we have activity, then there are some certain protocols. Whenever it, and there are so it's an academic activity, and we can use this thing in a technical in a technical sense. So we can use this academic activity word in a technical sense, coining the word as a research methodology. What is it? Research methodology. So that type of thing which if you remember, we have also seen the philosophy and definition of C. Woody. C. Woody is nothing but he was a very big researcher. He was a philosopher, and research he stated that it is like defining and redefining problems, formulating hypotheses or suggested solutions, collecting, organizing, evaluating data, making deductions, and reaching conclusions. Okay, and at the last, careful testing of conclusion to determine whether they fit to the formulated hypothesis. So these are the things which we saw in our first class. Then we have seen Slinger's definition, Stephenson's definition from Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, Physical Sciences. Okay, in which says that it is a manipulation of things or concepts or symbols for the purpose of generalizations of extent to correct or verify the knowledge. So slowly we started looking into the what is all which is coming under this thing, which is what is called as a research methodology. So if you look at an objective, any research, any search for knowledge, search for truth, search for or inquiry for truth, inquiry for knowledge should have a objective. What is it? So any research, okay, should have objective. So so if you look at the purpose of the research is to discover the answers to the question, to the applications of scientific procedures, and then to have such thing, the aim of the research is to find out the truth which is hidden and which has not been discovered yet. Okay, and for this to have this, we have to fulfill the objective. For this, we have to fulfill the objective of the research, and what are the objectives which we coin, what are the objectives which we look for. We look for the research objective first. What was the first objective? First objective was to gain familiarity, to gain familiarity with a phenomenon, with a phenomenon, or to achieve to achieve new insight into it. This is one of the important things. So studies which is with this objective in view are terms as a exploratory or formulative research. So this type of thing, this if you have this type of objective, then it is what is called as a formulative research. It is called the formulative research. Then what is next objective which we have seen? Next objective is to portray portray accurately. So portray accurately the characteristic of a particular individual, situational or a group of these is the research objective. So such type of studies are comes under the descriptive studies. Such type of study, the best example is descriptive research. Descriptive research. Example is descriptive. So there may be question that the this type of characteristic shows what type of research. Okay. Third is to determine the frequency. Determine the frequency with which something occur, occur, or with which it is associated with something else, with which it is associated with something else. And then such type of research is called as, what is the category of the research? Such type of research is called as diagnostics research. Diagnostic research. Okay. Diagnostic research. And what is fourth and important thing? Fourth and important thing, to test a hypothesis. Test a hypothesis of a causal relationship. Causal relationship between variables between variables, and such studies are known as hypothesis testing studies. Hypothesis testing studies. Okay, these are the three things. So to gain familiarity, to portray accuracy, to determine frequency, and to test hypothesis. These are the things which sets the objective for an research. Then what we have seen subsequently, then we seen type of research. What next we have seen? We have seen types of research. So there are many types of, you have to, there are, so every type of knowledge gaining path, okay, will have a type on its own. Okay, so for example, someone is doing studies on Buddhism at Tibet, and someone is doing some topological insulator investigation. Will have different paths, will have different philosophy, will have different sense of familiarity, different sense of insights. Okay, they will have they will be portraying different thing with an accuracy or with some certain characteristic. They will be determining different types of entities which will be occurring, which will be experiencing, okay, which will be diagnosed which are diagnosed. Okay, they will be testing different types of hypotheses. I have taken very extreme example like studying Buddhism in Tibet and investigating topology, because these are two ends. One is like a philosophy, other is like a physics or physical world, material world. Okay, and so and then there'll be a lot of, and these two extreme will have many thing intermediate, which are more complex, more tedious, okay, or which maybe look apparently simple but very difficult and things like that. So it means that this will definitely, then this urge us to define the types of research. This urge us to define the types of research. So the basic types of research which are there. First is the descriptive research versus analytical research. Descriptive research versus so in descriptive research, it includes the surveys and facts finding inquiries of different kinds, and the major purpose of descriptive research is a description of the state of affairs as it existed at present in social science and in business. We quite often use the term ex post facto research. Okay, ex post facto research. This ex post facto research is nothing but the descriptive research study. And then the main characteristic of this method is that the researcher has no control over the variables. As we yesterday discussed about the variables, like which are dependent, interdependent, canonical, I mean hidden variables. So, so in this research, its main characteristic is that researcher has no control over the variable. He can only report what has happened or what is happening. So most post facto research or most ex post facto research projects are used for descriptive studies. Okay, are used for in which the researcher seeks to measure such items like, for example, frequency of shopping, or how many people are shopping from this Ramdev Baba's mart. Are they really doing taking Indian herbs advantage? That how many of them, how many ladies are coming, how many gents are coming, how many of them are tilted for giving infant treatment from that such type of Ramdev Baba shop, or how many of them are shopping in Walmart or Lotte Mart and things like that. So, or preferences of the people, that whether people like vegetarian food or non-vegetarian food. If it is vegetarian food, then what type of vegetarian thing he likes, Punjabi or South Indian, then thing. So preferences, this is a kind of, because in this research you have no control. You cannot tell people that, oh, you only eat masala dosa and eat, no, you cannot have. So there is, whatever is there, you have to describe it. Whatever is given, you have to measure it, quantify it. Huh, and similar type of this. So ex post facto studies also includes the attempts by researcher to discover causes even when they cannot control the variable. So someone may then start going into the deep of this thinking, what causes so many people to have vegan, vegetarian, what causes to go people to this Ramdev Baba shop, or what is why people are nowadays changing their trend, instead of going for synthetic product to natural product like Himalaya or this. So it means that this type of research will then have further attempts, okay, to investigate, to discover the causes, okay. Now, even though you are not controlling them, so even just having, so so the methods of research utilized in descriptive research are survey methods of all kind. So it may be a comparative or correlational survey. Now that's the thing which is about. But in analytical research, if you see contrary, the researcher has to use facts or information already available. and analyze them to make a critical evaluation of the material. Okay, so so in so one of the example of analytical research is nothing but emergence of let us say home products. Okay, after 2010. So this is now your researcher has to use the critical facts, okay, critical information which is available, and analyze these facts. See why, what is the soul? Is there any awareness happening with the to the people or to the society that this thing? So these are the things which we discussed during that time, if you remember, in our discussion. Next thing which we discussed was the applied research. Applied research versus fundamental research. This is a kind of pair. Okay. So applied research, what is the aim of the applied research? Aim of the applied research is to find a solution for an immediate problem faced by the society, or it may be society, it may be industry, it may be any business organization. Hmm? So, so this is the nature of the applied research. But if you look at on the contrary, fundamental research, this fundamental research is mainly concerned with the generalization, okay, and with the formulation of a theory. So, for example, um, uh, applied research may come with the problem that privatization of Air India. Why Air India is privatized? Because then there was some business organizational problems. Flights were running in losses. Number of flights were not adequate. Timings were not perfect. Scheduling was the problem. Schedule arrival departure was another problem, and things like that. So all these things were the part and parcel of this apply. So that has undertaken by someone, and that company has been taken over. This is all the always the part of the apply. But in case of fundamental research, as I told you, it is mainly concerned with the generalization. So someone like, for example, Large Hadron Collider, someone may be investigating the fact that is there any fifth force of matter, which is like a switched on kind of thing forever, and can we have a trigger to such kind of forces, or can we see the dance? So it is nothing but it's a generalization or formulation of the theory. Okay, that our experiment reveals that there is a new kind of force that was existed during the formation of whatever origin of the universe, or during the formation of the universe, during the formation of Earth and things. So gathering knowledge for knowledge sake is termed fundamental research. What is meant by that? Gathering knowledge for knowledge sake is termed as the so so someone may ask why you are so much crazy about fifth force. You are not happy, or you are not skewed with the four forces already existing. You know? So so it's not like that. So it's a thirst of an individual, or thirst of a group of people, or thirst of a researcher, which is gaining knowledge for sake of the knowledge, gaining knowledge for the sake of that. That is the whole philosophy. That is the whole idea of phenomena. Now, research concerning to some. So there are many. Like for example, in case of pure mathematics research which is going on. Pure mathematics research is nothing but it's totally fundamental research, because there is so much of abstraction, and then there is uh, so much of skewed things. Okay, so it is like it's like you suddenly uh, so you suddenly started like poetry. You come up with the poetry kind of thing. So so it is like so it's like so nothing out of thing, nothing out of blue, you develop something. So that is a type of thing. So similar type of things you can see in arts and humanities also. Okay. uh, so this is all about the you as for example human behavior. If you want to look into the fundamental research, then why it is so, has it been tell changed, if it is changed, and why it has been changed, how much is the time from which it has a change has been seen. All these are the fact, and so you are generating knowledge for knowledge sake. Okay. Whereas in case of In case of applied research, you are discovering some solution. You are discovering some pressing practical problems. Okay, pressing practical. Hmm. Yeah, but in case of basic research, which is directed towards the finding the information that is having a broad base of application. So it may be like knowing fifth force. Sometimes in down the pipe, we may be able to use some time warp kind of thing to drive our intergalactic thing. So it is like a very far-fetched imagination, far-fetched research. Then third thing which we studied was like quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative and so in quantitative research, what was the thing? Quantitative research was based on the quantitative measurement of some characteristic, and it is applicable to phenomena that can be expressed in terms of quantities. Whereas qualitative research, on the other, if you see on the contrary, is concerned with the qualitative phenomena. That is the phenomena relating to or related or involve quality or kind. So, for example, what are the example when we are interested in investigating the reasons for human behavior, means why people think or do a certain thing, we often talk of motivation research. We also often talk about motivation. So this is a quantification of the human behavior in terms of why they think like this, why they do certain things. So why some group of people they eat pizza or burger, and so on. So why? What is the habit? Why? What is the so this often focus on a motivation of it. So an important type of this, and this is one of the important type. Okay. Hmm. So to have, and what are the purpose by which we can do all these things? This type of research, if you look at it, it is based on discovering the underlying motives and desire. Okay, using in and how we can have this underlying motive and desire to be captured by taking in-depth interviews. Okay, by taking in-depth interview or by taking the online surveys. Okay. Hmm. Then other techniques of such research are the word association test. This is what always you do. You fill out some form, and then end of the day, it is done that okay, this is what this is done for. Okay, so attitude, okay, attitude based thing or feeling based thing. These are all the things which are based on this such type of quantification and qualitative analysis of the system. So mostly, if you look at this quantitative and qualitative research, they are mostly the part of the society where there is a human behavior study or where there is a societal behavior study and things like that, why the habits are changing or why motives are changing, things like so. That was the thing which we have seen in qualitative and quantitative research. Next thing which we uh, talked about was about the conceptual research. One of the very important thing which we talked about, the conceptual research versus empirical research. Conceptual research versus empirical research. So conceptual research is that is related to some abstract ideas, okay, or abstract or some say like out of blue, uh, you are now sketching something which is connecting to, let us say, the fifth dimension and things like that. So there are many things, the precursor of your uh, the string theory is this type of conceptual research which was driven after the full growth of quantum mechanics in last century. So during 70s to 80s. Okay. So it was based on the completely conceptual research. So it is generally used by philosophers and thinkers. Okay. So main the conceptualization thing, the route has is generally taken by the philosophers and thinkers to develop new concept or to reinterpret the existing. For example, like for example, various things which are hidden in Bhagavad Gita, okay, or Karma Yoga in Bhagavad, Sankhya Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. So every time if you go, decades after decades, okay, so someone has seen the Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, someone has seen the Sankhya Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, someone has talked about the Bhakti Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. Shankaracharya has made Shankara Bhashya on about the what is called as the Raj Yoga in this thing. Vivekananda has described about the this yoga, which yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, sankhya yoga, and what was the another thing which he talked about is the bhakti yoga. So these are the things, these are the elements. Okay, these are the elements which are based. So it's the conceptual thing out of. So we have the new ideas has been seen, new facets has been evolved. Whereas if you look at the empirical research, it relies on the experience or the observation alone, and without due regard for a system or theory. So the planetary positions, okay, or their elevations with respect to azimuth axis. So it is a data based research. So if you have all these thing maps ready, then you may have a telescope, and if you give them the position, it will be locating its point will be located over there automatically. It will adjust, and then you have to just adjust the focal length and look into the. So this is nothing but this is the outcome of a empirical research. So more all this conceptual or empirical, there is a huge data structure. There is a huge data structure, and then there are other auxiliary research. There are some other types of research which we look, okay, which are like a one-time research, and longitudinal research, and so on and so forth. We discuss field setting research, laboratory research, and conclusion-oriented research, decision-oriented research. Okay, and if you remember, we talked about the research approach. One of the important thing in this thing we have what is the approach for research? What's the approach for research? This is one of the very important point which we talked about. Like uh, that uh, how should we have approach? So approach in terms of there we discussed extensively how should be the quantitative approach, how should be the qualitative approach, experimental approach, simulation based approach, okay, and things like that. Whereas and then we at length we discussed that mostly our physical things comes under the what is called as the qualitative approach, where we have where we have to describe the behavior of the system, attitudes of the system. We have to take opinions from the database, and then we have to make our own focus, okay, based on the research papers available, or based on the literature data available, and things like that. And what we discussed importantly is the significance of research. Significance of this is one of the very important thing, because those who will be doing their MS, who will be doing their PhDs, who will be applying for ZEST, NET, SET, all of them, they should have this thing. This I will get qualify, get set. चलो मेरे को job मिल जाएगा. It's not about that. So it's about all the progress you have in your inquiry. So you should have an inquiry which is in progression. Okay, or whatever progress which you look, it comes to the inquiry that you should know. So like it is like your doubt. So there is a very famous thing in oh Lord, protect my doubt. I don't know whether you. And this is a very famous line in Othello's thing. And so doubt. Why doubt? Because doubt is often better than overconfidence. Because why? Because it will lead to inquiry, and then this inquiry lead to invention. So any significance, any So the important significance of research is that we should have a inquirial mind. We should have a inquirial mind, and then in that thing we extensively discuss about Hudson's viewpoint in the context of the significance of the research. Okay, what is mean by research, which which is a scientific inductive research. Inductive research means it should imbibe the inductive thinking, which will promote the development of logical habits of thinking and organization. So all these things we discuss, and we also discuss about the role of research in number of fields, which are like economics or physics or things as a whole. Hmm. Then we talked about the research. What is the basis of the research for for and what is the importance for uh, pertaining to government policies, because all these economic systems or whatever economic system or scientific systems or general harmonious system which we see in society is going on today, okay, is based on a lot of research. Okay, research which has been done out of curiosity as well as out of inquiry mind. Okay, to bring society to this level. So this is the whole development of the society is based on the fact that how much inquiry we do, how much doubt we have. If we are overconfident, I don't have any doubt, let us go like this, and there will be a problem. Okay, so that type of discussions we have done. We have also seen various types of definition under this. What are the phases? Okay, and then you know what are the we have seen three main phases: investigation of any structure, then diagnosis of the event, and then the uh, prognosis or the predicting the future development. These are the things, important thing, because your research should do all these things. Otherwise it will be of no use if it is of outdated pollution kind or outdated junk kind of thing. So that is what we discussed in significance of the research, and then we understood that in our context, particularly those students who are writing now, most of you are writing your masters thesis or PhD thesis. Okay, for them, this research is one of the important thing. Why? Because it is going to offer you a good career, a very high position in societal structure. So that's why you should be very, very serious about it. You should be very much dedicated. You should be very much honest about it. Because why? Because if you have this type of quality, if you have this type of sincere inquiry thing, then we can go ahead. We can, because why? Then you will have, initially you have to qualify some entrance exam, which will help you to pursue a degree further, education further, with some support of economy or the support of some scholarship. Then these years you have to really put lot of hard work, effort. Why? Because to write your thesis or to go to the thesis level, because it is your career, and no one else can give you better career than you yourself. Why? Because it is very well known, well verse in Bhagavad Gita is that Uddhare Atmana Atmanam. Uddhare Atmana Atmanam means you have to, you can only do awaken yourself. You can only progress on your own. There is no one else. So if you say no, no, if guide is good, then I will very much flourish. If guide is worst, I can. It's not like that. Okay. So most of the people, they are not very much interested in going to PhD or this type of thing. Let's have a job, like मेरे को job मिल जाए तो अच्छा है. Or many people, they see their fellowship as a 5 year short term salary. This should not be done. Why? Because if you do this, is one of the very important insight, and is one of the very important significant taken from research, that those who will be doing their PhD, writing their thesis, for them it is their breath. For them it is their breath. आपका सांस जैसा है. सांस में सांस बहु वाला सांस नहीं, breath. And why? Because it's a career which will give you a very high position. So this is for the student. If you look at the professional in research methodology, so like for example, if I'm an IT professional, I'm a professional in back office, okay, knowledge process outsourcing, KPO or BPO. For me, any this research developments will be having a source of livelihood for me. I am going to have better thing. So previously I used to work for using a computer. I'll be using now laptop, so it will be better. And if you look at this thing from the philosopher and thinker point of view, for them, research means the outlet for new ideas and insight, which has not been seen, the facets which has not been revealed, which has not been explored previously. It is a the research means this for them. And then for literally man, woman, the research means development of new style, so those who are working in business, those who are doing some, and so any research, any development in that, okay, that will provide a new style, new creative workplace. And for analyst and intellectual, research means the development of new theories. This is what we extensively discussed. Then we talked about research methods and methodology. That is one of the very important thing which we talked about. What is meaning by research method and what is meant by research methodology? Where we have taken several examples, there are various group which we studied, and then we talked about the what is sorry, we have taken various examples like library research, field research, laboratory research. What is the methods? What are methods which are involved in them? What are techniques? So first of all, we differentiated with methods and technique, and then we have seen what type of class, research class type it was holding, and we discuss about typically for this library, field, and laboratory kind of thing. Then we talked about the research and scientific methods. So where we can, in this context we talked about what is the opinion of Carl Pearson. Okay, Carl Pearson was a writer. He was a philosopher, thinker, who has given a lot of who has given a lot of thoughts and devoted thoughts to this scientific method, okay, and how to have a correct or accurate scientific method. And then his thing is that the scientific method is should be connect is one and the same for all sciences, which will logically train the mind, and then these logical training take them to the final truth, to take them to the final truth. Okay, so that type of discussions which we have done, and then we saw that what are the scientific methods which are based on certain postulates. Okay, so it rely on empirical evidence. It utilizes a relevant concept. It is committed to only objective consideration. These are the 7, 8 uh, facts which we stated and which we discussed. Then next thing which we discussed was the research process. This is one of the another very important thing which we discussed. Research process. And then if you look at this point number 1.8, we have extensively discussed what is this research process, and what are the important formulating research problem may exist. Extensive literature survey, developing hypothesis, and things like that. So this is what we have done. We have seen in your first semester. So you prepare well. I have just, today I have given you a glimpse of some part of it, and then you have to prepare. So 11th, we will be having our this first quiz, online quiz. Okay, for which you have to prepare all this thing. Uh, it will be your first test on this. All of you, I'll be sending the online quiz to you. Okay. So with this thing, we'll stop for today. Any question? कोई शक कोई सवाल? Okay, if there are no further questions, then we'll stop for today and we'll continue tomorrow.